What would really happen to the UFC if Dana White announced his departure tomorrow? The UFC has long since ceased to be a promoter-driven organization. It is now a factory. Content 365 days a year. Dozens of events, hundreds of fighters, millions of viewers. The system is built to survive the failure of a single node, even if that node has been called Dana for 20 years. The question is not, will the UFC survive, but what exactly will change? The pace, tone, risks, and money. And here's why. Where does the UFC's real power lie today? Rights and money. Starting in 2026, all numbered tournaments and fight night events will move to Paramount+. Some of the main cards will be broadcast on CBS. The key is the abandonment of the old PPV model in the US. Top cards are included in the subscription with no additional fees. This changes audience behavior and content KPIs. Retention and reach are more important than one-time box office from purchasing a fight. The term is 7 years with an average annual cost of approximately $1.1 billion. This is long-term money and predictable demand. Operations. Behind the scenes, there has long been a triangle of stability. Hunter Campbell, negotiations, contracts, crisis management of mainstream fights, plus matchmakers Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, roster depth and replaceability, plus COO Lawrence Epstein, arenas, commissions, legalization, government communications. This is not fanfare. It is the daily logistics of 40-plus shows and a roster of 700-plus athletes. Rules of the game. The anti-doping program has been transferred from USADA to a new track, administration, drug-free sport, CSAD. The recent case of McGregor's 18-month disqualification for whereabouts failures showed that the sanctions mechanism works even without external political cover. This means that even after Dana's departure, the regulatory core will remain strict and autonomous. The most common prediction mistake. Many think that if Dana leaves, matchmaking will fall apart. In fact, matchmaking is institutionalized. Yes, Dana has an intuition for hype and drama, and he knows how to push the process forward. But the fight designer is a matrix. Status, activity, health, contracts, rental windows, visa routes, Paramount CBS grid. This matrix is run by Campbell plus Maynard plus Shelby and has been for a long time. There are fewer disruptions not because Dana yelled, but because the system has 3 backup routes for each date. Who will take the seat of company face? The most likely technical successor in terms of fight decisions is Hunter Campbell. He is already the wartime conciliere for top cards, conducting complex negotiations and putting out fires on show day when someone has a fever or their visa is denied. His public role may remain minimal. This guy doesn't need a microphone. He needs a phone and a signature on a contract. At the same time, Epstein will continue to hold the business side. The result will be a 2-stroke engine, a quiet fight designer plus a technocrat operator. And that's okay. What will definitely change without Dana? The tone. Press conferences will become less dirty, with fewer memes and fewer verbal fights. The media arc will be more corporate. Toxicity threshold. Fewer F-bombs and sudden public ultimatums. Good for brands and telecom, but some fans will miss the sparks. Decisions without shouting. Instead of pushing through by force, more regulations. Disputes will become longer, but more predictable. Personal camera magic. The image of the punching CEO will disappear. It worked as free marketing. It will have to be compensated for with production and storytelling on Paramount.CBS platforms. What will remain the same? Tournament schedule. 40-plus shows a year are not going anywhere. The contract with Paramount is long, and it must be fulfilled with quality and regularity. The game calendar is sacred. Industrial replaceability. If the main event falls, they move the co-main event, sign a local fighter in 48 hours, and rebuild the windows. These scenarios have already been rehearsed. Discipline and anti-doping. Cases of star immunity will not pass. The system has already publicly shown its teeth. What will happen to the fighters? Money and power. Negotiation dynamics. With Dana, many things were decided instantly, on emotion. Without him, more procedures and less personal magic. The top fighters will retain their leverage. Unique names are needed for Paramount CBS, while it will be more difficult for the middle-ranking fighters to make leaps in the ratings. Bonuses and replacements. They will remain, but there will be fewer impulsive raises behind the microphone, more pre-agreed steps, media commitments. Moving to the Paramount ecosystem means more cross-promotion, CBS morning shows, doc segments, digital series. Fighters will work the camera more often before and after the fight. This is not a request, it is the new distributor's KPI. Matchmaking, risk profile of cards. Dana was an accelerator for the sake of the moment. Without him, processes will become more cautious on the 6 to 9 month horizon, but in the short term, this is even a plus. Fewer late cancellations, fewer postponements, better medical layouts. The risk is a decrease in the share of crazy matches that are made here and now while the hype is hot. The antidote is internal special projects, themes, national weekends, iconic arenas, and deep pre-production, which are already being used and were used with without Dana. Broadcasting and production. How to compensate for the absence of White in the frame. Narrative. Shift the focus to athlete plus story pairs rather than promoter plus ultimatum. More docu-miniseries before the PPV level, now conditionally premium on P+. More embedded to countdown hybrids. Broadcast on CBS. A large free showcase changes the funnel. First a wide audience, then a push on Paramount Plus through Don't Miss the Sequel. This requires stable faces in studio positions. Not necessarily a new Dana, but definitely a new anchor. Showcase events. Holiday weekends, unique venues, international markets. All of this is becoming critical, and it's already in the plans. The contract encourages mega shows for reach, not just one night's box office. Regulators, commissions, politics, state licensing, capacity caps, security, visas, diplomacy. These are not Dana's personal connections, but an institution built by Epstein and the legal team. In the short term, everything will continue to work by inertia. In the long term, the connections will still be rebranded as UFC plus TKO, not as individuals. This is more sustainable for the corporation. What will happen to the hype? That very Dana adrenaline. Without it, things will become quieter and more orderly. But there is an advantage to quiet. Big sponsors love predictability. And in the Paramount or CBS era, a quarterly content plan is more important than a sudden scandal for sales. The alternative to the old noise is a synchronized media universe. Teasers on CBS's NFL broadcasts, crossovers with primetime shows, prequel series under big titles. It's a different kind of marketing, but it's not worse. It's bigger. Transition scenarios range from soft to hard. Soft. Dana remains an advisor and media personality without signing contracts. The transition is almost imperceptible. Campbell leads the fights, Epstein leads the state arenas, and Dana makes rare cameo appearances at press conferences as the new host. Fast. A sharp departure. The first 3 to 6 months. A pause in super risky matches, more rematches, and logical mandates so as not to break Paramount's grid. After 6 months, risk appetite returns. Hard crisis. The departure coincided with injuries to champions Tosh scandals. Then the depth of the roster and parachutes from the CBS card series saved the day to maintain coverage. The contract motivates not to stop under any circumstances. Pain points that need to be said out loud. Lack of a dictator in the moment. Sometimes you need someone who can make an unpopular decision in 5 minutes and take the heat. After Dana, these decisions will become team decisions. Longer, but perhaps fairer. Fan expectations. Part of the audience equates the UFC with White. These people will have to be re-educated with content and fighters. Superstars. The PPV world is geared toward a one-man cult. In a subscription model, a pool of individuals is more profitable. This requires re-educating fans. Not one fight per quarter, but several flagships every month. What is the bottom line? The UFC as a system is more stable than a person. The rights have been purchased, the calendar has been scheduled, the logistics have been worked out, and the apparatus of successors is real, not imaginary. Dana's departure will take away some of the spark and memes, yes. But the fight conveyor belt will continue to deliver the product. The money and platforms are already contractually fixed. Matchmaking will not be reset. The think tank has long been in the saddle. Anti-doping and commissions do not depend on the charisma of the CEO. Where is the risk? In the drama. Dana is a unique seller of conflict. Without him, the UFC will become more like a league than a promotion with a show boss. But the era of subscription giants requires a league. Regular, large-scale, predictable. So the most likely scenario is not the end, but a rebranding of energy. Less shouting from the stage, more primetime production, and a wider audience funnel. And the fights? Once the cage closes, it's all about the hands, feet, and match selection. The UFC is fine with that, even without Dana.